In addition to the allergic reactions, we have reproductive problems.
Wait, so before you go into the reproductive, I just want to get back to the allergies for a minute. So, because the food allergies is rampant now, and so are you saying that if people, let's say if you have a soy allergy, it might be that you're allergic to the GM ingredients in the soy, and that if you chose to eat organic soy, you won't have that same problem? Is that a possibility?
It certainly is a possibility. In fact, a lot of people tell me just that. We've been collecting case studies of people that have said that they have reactions to conventional or genetically modified soy, but not to organic varieties. In fact, the American Academy of Environmental Medicine this year came out with a policy statement urging all doctors to prescribe non-GMO diets to all patients, citing immune system problems as one of the issues that have been found in animal feeding studies. And I just gave a talk last week to the American Academy of Environmental Medicine on GMOs, autoimmune disease, and inflammation, where I went through all the different research studies with a doctor who's a member of AAM and looked at the ways in which the animals are reacting to the genetically modified crops, but not to the non-GM crops. And it's remarkable how many potential diseases we're seeing on the rise in the United States may be GM food related, just from this analysis of the immune responses.
That's interesting. I found fascinating in your book where you had the side-by-side GM versus regular food given to pigs and chickens and even rats, and that the animals always chose to eat the non-GMO food. They knew instinctively, I guess, that the other stuff was just not good for them.
No one knows exactly why, but it's the case with pigs, cows, geese, elk, deer, raccoons, squirrels, mice, rats, chickens, and buffalo.
Wow.
Now, sometimes we have an experience where we know that if they do eat the product, even if they're trying to avoid, things can go wrong. Like there was a tomato that it was approved but then taken off the market a few years later. The rats refused to eat it. They were force-fed the tomatoes. 7 of 20 developed stomach lesions. 7 of 40 died within 2 weeks. In India, most of the buffalo in the state of Haryana refused to eat cottonseed cakes made from genetically modified cotton. The cotton is engineered to produce this toxin that kills insects. When they do eat the toxic-based cotton seeds, most of the buffalo have reproductive problems. They have abortions or sterility or premature deliveries or prolapsed uteruses, and many of the offspring die young, and also many of the adult buffalo die. In fact, I visited one village in India earlier this year where they allowed their buffalo for years to graze safely on regular cotton plants, but they allowed their buffalo last year in January to graze for a single day on genetically modified cotton plants, and after that, all 13 buffalo died, and about 26 sheep and goats also died from that day of eating genetically modified cotton plants.
That's amazing. I want to talk a little bit about the research studies. You write that the biotech companies are funding the research studies and in some cases are actually performing the tests that the FDA should be doing. And that's really troubling. So what's your take on how they may have misled researchers and the government and us consumers?
Well, there's some pretty blatant examples. Take, for example, bovine growth hormone, which is a genetically engineered drug injected into cows to increase milk supply. Stolen documents from the FDA made public show that when Monsanto researchers tried to show that injections did not interfere with the fertility of cows, they allegedly added the cows to the study that were already pregnant before they were injected. And another study wanted to show that the pasteurization of milk that from injected cows, it destroyed the hormone, but they actually pasteurized the milk 120 times longer than normal. They only destroyed 19% of the hormones, so they added powdered hormone in high quantities to the milk and then heated it 120 times longer, and under those artificial conditions were able to destroy 90% of the hormone. And so the FDA reported that normal pasteurization destroys 90% of the hormone. Complete distortion of the facts. They also choose the wrong control groups, the wrong detection methods, the wrong statistics. It's amazing they've got bad science down to a science. And we spoke a lot of those details in part 3 of Genetic Roulette. There's 41 pages of blatant, fraudulent practices, and we show exactly what they do and how absolutely unscientific and deceitful it is.
If you're just joining us, this is Beth Greer, and I'm talking with Jeffrey Smith about genetically modified foods on Your Supernatural Life here on Green 960.
So is this all about the money? Is this why these companies are pushing these products so vigorously and not, doing the proper research?
Well, certainly there's a lot of money to be made. Food is the largest traded commodity on Earth, and here's a way to essentially control the seed and therefore control the food by patenting the seed and gaining control of the foothold vertically from the seed to the plate. Monsanto and the other biotech industry, 4 other biotech companies growing the food, are really making a power play. In fact, Monsanto had told their consultant years ago that their ideal future was to genetically engineer 100% of all the commercial seeds in the world and patent them, and the consultant worked backwards from that goal to create the strategy and tactics to achieve it.
So that's their end game is kind of the ultimate control of our food supply?
To replace nature, essentially, yes, and then also to sell value-added products to the farmers. There's different chemicals that you can mix that work with the seeds, and they've got a whole pipeline of other stuff that they want to do. They also want to force the farmers who normally save seeds each year to buy seeds from their catalogs. So you have 1.4 billion farmers in the world who save seeds, and they don't give a penny to the seed companies, and Monsanto is the largest seed company now. So they want to introduce technologies and legal contracts to force farmers to go to the catalogs of the seeds rather than save the seeds, which of course will shrink the biodiversity catastrophically and put our whole food security at risk by betting our food system on more limited genetics.
Your mission and mine now is to educate people on being aware. So now you list some surprising foods that contain GM ingredients like honey from Canada because the bees are on the canola plants, and more than 70% of U.S. cheeses due to an enzyme used, and even vitamins. I was really surprised about that. So what common foods should we stay away from to avoid GM ingredients, aside from the cooking oils you talked about and the processed foods? Anything else that...
Well, if anything has high fructose corn syrup or corn flour or soy flour or soy lecithin or soybean oil or corn oil, that's in a lot of different foods. In fact, the inside back cover of our shopping guide, which is also online, you can order it or download it, has a list of all the different derivatives that can be derived from genetically modified crops, and it's quite a long list. And so when you're dealing with processed foods, the best thing is to buy organic, because you also support organic, which is great. The second is to buy products that say non-GMO on the label. The third is to just look at the shopping guide and buy the products listed on the guide, or take the shopping guide ingredients with you, the ingredient list. And so if something's not listed on the shopping guide, you can just see if it happens to be carrying one of those ingredients, and if it's not organic and it doesn't say non-GMO and it contains those ingredients, then it's most likely to be containing derivatives of genetically modified crops.
If you're just joining us, this is Beth Greer, and I'm talking with Jeffrey Smith about genetically modified foods on Your Supernatural Life here on Green 960.
Are you hopeful about the future of getting rid of this blight to our food supply?
Oh, I think we could do it within a year. I think we could do it within a year. See, I think we only need about 5% of U.S. shoppers to avoid brands with GM ingredients, and then we'll do it. So we have a campaign for healthier eating in America designed to do just that, because we already have, we're looking for 20 or 15 million people to stop eating brands with GMOs. We already have 28 million people in the United States that regularly buy organic, or 54 million that buy it irregularly. As you opened the show, you talked about the rabbi talking about GMO really meaning God move over. There's a lot of religious organizations that think that GMO means God move over, and they don't want to use that. There are parents of young kids that don't want their kids anywhere near this stuff, but don't know why and don't know how. So we've packaged information, books, DVDs, movies, audio CDs, podcasts, PowerPoints, a lot of them available for free on our site, and we're distributing now in mass, hoping to reach tens of millions of people with the information that healthy eating starts with no GMOs and the knowledge of how to avoid GMOs.
And give us your website.
In the hands of the receptive people.
Give us your website one more time.
Technology. Yes, responsibletechnology.org.